what's up? Welcome back. It's Lauren with Berkeley Farm, and it is a cold, wet, and windy day here in Arkansas. I had every intention of being outside, working outside, but I don't think the weather is going to be conducive to that, so I thought it would be the perfect opportunity to tell you all things about my greenhouse. I've had several questions about that and several requests for that, so that's what we're going to do. You want to go into the greenhouse? Okay, let's do it. First things first is we need a new doorknob and we need to get rid of this. Okay, in you go where it's warm. Okay, y'all, we are officially in my greenhouse. You have seen the inside of it before, but I've had a ton of questions about it, and I actually had a few requests to put out a video about it and just telling you some things about it, how we built it, the materials, things I like, things I don't like. So first, I just kind of want to pan around and show you what the inside looks like. Okay, y'all, that's about the best I could do, giving you kind of a 360 view of what the greenhouse looks like. And I just kind of wanted to go through some of the common questions that I got asked about this. And then I thought it would be a good idea to just talk about things that I love about this greenhouse so far. This is my first season using it, so this is the first time I've ever started seeds in it. I'm sure there are other things that I'm going to love and I'm going to not like so much about it as time goes on. But yeah, I just wanted to talk to you about things I'm really liking about it, and then things that you probably want to keep in mind if you're thinking about building a greenhouse like this. Okay, so first things first, I get asked a lot on, is this a kit? Was this a kit? Or was it like a prefab type thing, or did you build it all yourself? And the answer to that is we built it all ourselves. My dad, I've said it in previous videos, that it is getting hot in here. Hold on, I got to turn that heater off.
No!
Huh? It's hot.
But I'm cold.
You're cold?
Uh-huh.
Okay, well, hold on. So yeah, my dad built this, y'all, from scratch. It was back in, I looked it up recently because I looked at a picture on my Facebook, but it was April of 2019. I bought all of these windows, and I found them all as like a bulk deal. I cannot remember 100% how much I paid for them, but I remember it being really cheap. I want to say I got these windows, every single one of these windows except two. There are two on either side of the door that I picked up later on just because I really liked the way they looked, for around $100. So if you're thinking about building a window greenhouse, just keep a lookout on Facebook and any of those other local places where you can pick stuff up and look for like a bulk bundle. That's question one. Was it a kit? Is it a Yoder built? Somebody asked me, was it Yoder built? No, this is all from scratch. These are from ideas in my head, our heads, and we just kind of put it together. I get asked a lot about the size of it, and I actually just went out and measured it, and it's kind of funky sizing just because we had laid the windows out to see about where they would go in the greenhouse, how we could make them kind of aesthetically pleasing, appealing. It came out to be roughly 16 foot by about 14.5 foot. So which is, it's a very good size. It's big. I'm already filling it up with, you saw all the plants on the ground and whatnot. So it's already getting really full, but it's a good size. 16 foot by about 14.5 feet. From floor to the rafters, it's, oh shoot, I just measured it. What was it? I'll say it was about 8 feet. Floor to rafters was about 8 feet, and then all the way up we have a pitch on the roof. It's a pretty steep pitch. I don't know honestly how steep the pitch is, but it's steep, and I'll show you more views of it later on. And actually that kind of leads into what's going on with the plastic on the roof. It actually generally looks really pretty when I don't have plastic on the roof, but I've got plastic above the rafters right now, because when I first tried to start my seedlings in here. I tried to germinate them in here, and that was a terrible idea. Turns out I do keep heater. I've got 2 heaters in here. I keep heaters in here at night, and I turn them on when I think it's going to get too cold at night. But the power of the heaters and the fact that I have a really high pitched roof, all of the heat was traveling to the top. Could not keep this thing heated. And so for the time being, until we can come up with a better solution, we made the decision to put plastic above the rafters to make it a smaller space so we could heat it better, heat it more efficiently. And that is working. It's ugly as sin, but I mean, it is what it is. It's working. All my seedlings are doing really well now. It was really cool last night. Not cool, it was cold last night. It may have been like, I think it dipped down to 30 last night. And the greenhouse stayed roughly, with the 2 heaters going, roughly 60 degrees, and right now it's like 80 in here, so I just turned the heaters off. We're doing good. Now the sun's coming out. Hold on, don't be stepping on my plants now. So yeah, that's something to take into consideration if you're going to build something like this. If you want a tall pitch, I wanted a pretty big pitch just because I didn't want my roof so close to the seedlings that it was going to cause issues with sun scald and, burning them. And I wanted it to look pretty, and I think a really high pitched roof is pretty. Well, that wasn't very nice. So yeah, that's something to take into consideration. If we had foreseen this problem, we could have corrected it with our electrical work. Hold on a minute. Yeah, so in hindsight, what we could have done to probably avoid all of these heating issues, one is we could have had a lower pitch on the roof. That's not something I wanted, and quite honestly, when we were building the house, we didn't even think that this would be an issue. But really what the issue is when we did the electrical, I'm not an electrician, so I'm trying to get this right, but we ran wire for things that would be compatible with 120 volt stuff to plug in, which is fine. That's just like your standard house appliances and whatnot, and it's fine. It runs these smaller heaters, and it runs my fan, it turns my lights on, it does all of that I needed to do. However, there are bigger heaters that they make that are much more powerful that could potentially heat this whole space just fine, but you need electrical that is compatible with 220 volt, and we don't have that capacity out here. So we could go back and rewire and run new wire and whatnot. That's just not what we're willing to do right now. So this plastic over the rafters is going to work for now. Hopefully we'll find another solution, because part of I have a really pretty chandelier up there that I would love for you to see. But okay, so another question that I get a lot are what materials did we use to build this? And basically, I bought the windows first. That was the very first thing I did a couple years ago when I knew that I wanted this window greenhouse. Didn't know when it was going to happen, but just found this heck of a deal on windows and was like, we're just going to store these until we can do it. So that's what I did. And I thought, man, I got these windows for a heck of a deal. You coming in? For a really awesome deal, and that's like the bulk of the expense, the bulk of the materials, and that is not true. So don't fall victim to that thought, because that is not true at all. Yeah, so we just built this we're not construction, we're not builders, but my dad knows enough obviously to build this, and it worked out. But basically what we did was we started with 4x4s in the ground, 4x4s, and then we framed it from there. And the framing was done all with 2x4s. They're untreated. Mostly the 4x4s in the ground are treated. A lot of the 2x4s, I want to say, are untreated, and somebody had mentioned that may have not been the correct choice because it does get hot and humid in here. There's a lot of moisture that happens inside the greenhouse. So in the long run, probably treated lumber may have been better. Treated lumber is more expensive though. And then I know some people are not okay with the chemicals that go along with treated lumber. So that, I don't know, those are just things to keep in mind. I'm happy with it for now. But the framing was just after we had kind of gotten the layout of where we thought the windows were going to go, and keep in mind that changes, the window placement changes as the build goes along. But for the most part, we stuck with what we had planned. But each window is then framed out individually. It takes quite a while. It is what it is, but yes, each window is framed out individually with 2x4s. All the lumber we used was, for the most part, bought new, just because we didn't have a lot of lumber on hand. We did have a little bit left over. We do try to save what we can, but for the most part, it was bought new. We also had, you could see on the outside, we have that kind of shiplap style siding, and that is just that, what do you call it, particle board. It is treated. The roof is that corrugated polycarbonate material. It's really good for, and from my research, it's really good for greenhouse build. It is very expensive, so if you can find that used or, you know, on sale or cheaper or anything, I would buy that up quick, because it was one of the major costs of the greenhouse build. I'm going to show you here the doors. Well, I'll turn you around here. The doors were given to me by a friend. They were free, which is awesome. Free is good. Anything that was free, I use. They were pretty banged up. The windows had that grid style, French door style window, but it was very cracked, very needed quite a bit of repairs. So we actually just, let me try to put you back here. You're sitting on top of my tomatoes right now. Not on top of the tomatoes, but very strategically placed right here. Anyways, lots of repairs on the door, but the repairs were free other than the paint. So, doors were free. The flooring, let me pick you up again and show you the floor. The floor, hold on, I'm going to have to turn you around. So, this is the floor covered in, what do you have down here, Tuck? Is this what it costs to be able to do my video and have you entertained? So the floor is a mix of two different brick styles. One is some leftover brick from my brother and his sister, my brother and his wife, my sister-in-law's house. And then the other one is, I had a friend who had just built a house and she needed all that extra junk brick out of her way. So we went and picked that up. It was all free, y'all. If you're willing to do the work to load all that up, then a lot of that stuff you can get for free. So we got the brick for free. For the flooring, we put down a thin layer of gravel and then a thin layer of sand, and then the bricks are on top of the sand. This flooring is not level whatsoever. I did not take the time to level the floor because I was being impatient and getting frustrated with trying to build a level floor. It looks awesome. It just kind of goes with the aesthetic of the greenhouse, just kind of that rustic type vibe. However, now that I have seedlings in here, I will say I do wish I would have taken the time to make a level floor, because I do a lot of bottom watering. So this floor is not level. So this table is not level. And then when I come over here and I bottom water in these trays, a lot of the water is sitting down here, and these guys up here aren't getting watered. So I have to take the time to make sure that everything gets watered. So that's just extra time. If I had taken the extra time to level out this floor correctly, I wouldn't have to worry about those sort of watering issues. It could be an easy fix. I could level out the table, put something under the table legs, but in hindsight, I should have taken the time to level the floor. Obviously, there's a lot of water that falls on the floor here, so I made sure to fill the cracks of the brick with something that was going to allow water to drain. You know, you could just do sand. We ended up doing this right here, this paver set sand. So it's like a semi-solid. What, baby?
It's not working, look.
Uh-oh, I'll help you in just a minute, okay?
It needs battery.
Okay, we can do that. When it dries somewhat semi-solid So it's a little more concrete-like than sand. However, it still allows water to drain. That was very expensive. And we started with that because we didn't think we'd need a whole lot. In hindsight, we needed a lot. We kept having to go back to Lowe's to get that paver set sand, because what was happening was, instead of just filling in the cracks, we didn't think about the fact that the sand would fill in the cracks, and then it would have to fill in those holes in each brick. Hey there, mister. We're going to have to pick those up. Yeah, so it ended up being a lot. That was a major cost. If I had known that that's what was going to happen, I probably would have just gone with sand from the get-go. So when it came to the tables in here, we had quite a few ideas go on, and we ended up going with this because it was going to be the cheapest option for us. So this is a bunch of 2x4s that are framed out here for this tabletop design. And then these slats are just some old wood scraps that my dad had. He ripped those down to uniform sizes and he put them in. We did put a, polyurethane coating on them because obviously it's all going to be getting wet. So we put that on there. The table, a couple things to take into consideration, I think, when you build these is how high you want your table to be. This is higher than normal. I need to measure it to see how tall it is, but this is pretty tall because I'm tall. I'm almost 6 foot. So I wanted something that I could just walk up to, not have to bend over. So it is pretty much custom to my height. And then the depth of the table. I wanted it to be deep enough to fit a 10-20 tray. I don't want my 10-20 trays hanging off the edge here. Obviously, that one's hanging off the edge because I have a sink there, so I'm kind of just making it work. But I wanted it to be deep enough for the width of a 10, or the depth of a 10-20 tray. So yeah. And then this was a table. My dad also built this table years ago, and I put it in here for some extra table space. One of the ideas that we had that I'm kind of wishing we would have gone with at this point, we could always go back and do it, I guess, is we thought about taking, let me switch up here. So what we thought about doing, and we ended up not just because of cost, is somehow making the tops of these tables removable. So like making this one long tray here. And the reason we thought about doing that is because these guys are going to have to be hardened off. So here pretty soon, actually, probably this weekend, I'm going to start working on hardening all these guys off. They'll have to spend some time outside every single day. So I'm going to have to individually take each one of these 10-20 trays, move them outdoors for a little bit, and then they'll have to come back in. I'll have to do that every single day. So that's going to be time consuming. I mean, it's fine. I can do it. But obviously, if you farm and if you garden, you know you like to do things that are cost efficient and time efficient. And so we thought if we could make a tray, it would be a 2-person job, but one person would grab the end of that tray and the other would grab the end of that tray, and we could move a whole row of these 10-20 trays out at one time. We did not do that. It's something that we can go back and do in the future, but I don't know. I thought that was a good idea. I think my mom came up with that. Oh, don't take that off, baby. No. Oh, man. Yeah, so if you're doing a greenhouse build like this or you're looking at tables, I would definitely consider that. I think that's a great idea. So another thing that you're definitely going to want to have when you do a greenhouse build, is airflow. You're going to want to have plenty of airflow. I say you can't have too much airflow, really, because you can always shut these windows if you need to, cut some of the airflow out. But once it's built, you can't really make more airflow if you didn't put hinges on some of these. So the way we've done airflow here, I have, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 windows total that are on hinges. 4 of the 6 are manual open, so I have to manually open that. That one is one of the automatic vents I wanted to show you. You've probably seen these. These are specifically designed for greenhouses. This handle here is filled with wax. When it gets hot, the wax melts and it makes the window open. It pops open, and actually, That one over there's popped open a little bit. I'll show you. So I just did 2 like this, only because we weren't 100. They were expensive. One, see, you can see that one's starting to pop open a little bit. They were somewhat expensive. I mean, not just unreasonable, but somewhat expensive. And I wasn't 100% sure how well they were going to work. We had never used them before. We just weren't real sure. So we did 2, and then the rest are manual open. I will probably come back and put the automatic vents on the rest of these eventually in the future. Just because I do work a job outside of this. There are days that I've needed to have the windows open because it's gotten hot, but nobody's been home to open them. So it would just be nice to have them all automatic open. The other thing is the double doors. I did double doors for 2 reasons. One reason is it's really pretty. The other reason is that just allows that much more airflow. I can open both of those doors and we can get a really good breeze going in here. And then let me take you outside and show you something that was kind of unintentional, but I think is going to end up working out for the best. So we're on the outside of the greenhouse, obviously. One of the things that we did, one of the things that we did when we built this was, can you see that black foam stuff right there? That's a gap. That's where a gap was from the roof to the wood, the polycarbonate to the wood. There is probably a 2 to 3 inch gap. Hello. So when I was having the heating issues, that was obviously a huge issue because all of the heat was rising and then it was coming straight out those gaps. So we needed a way to seal it up. And we thought about several options. One of the options was using that foam, spraying the foam. I just felt like that was going to be not very pretty. Obviously, that's a theme with me. I want it to look nice. But this also, the other thing was we just didn't have a lot of money to spare at the time, so we needed something cheap. So this is the plumbing insulation that you can get at Lowe's, super cheap, like it's essentially a pool noodle, really. So you could use this with pool noodles as well. You hear the baby goats? They're screaming, they're hungry. Cut up a few of those, and shoved those in the cracks there. And that seals off that area. Are you stuck? Okay, I'll help you. Hold on. The thing that I think is going to be good about this is when it starts to get really hot and I still have plants in there and I need that airflow and I need to vent a lot of heat, is we can just come up and pop those out. Those are just shoved in there and the pressure's holding them. We can take those out and heat can vent out of there. Another thing, the windows up top are not on hinges. We can go back in the future and we can put, oh, you see my chandelier? There it is. We can put those on hinges if we need to, and that will also vent quite a bit of heat. Another question that I've been asked about the windows is, are the windows new or are they truly old windows? And these are truly old windows. Some of them were unusable because the wood was rotten. Something to think about with the old windows is if they truly are old, the panes in them are very fragile, and we have broken quite a few. That is a safety hazard. Especially I've got small children, so we have to be very careful about that. The other thing is it's just a pain every time you bust a window pane. So we busted quite a few. I'll even show you the window over here on hinges. I'm gonna turn you here. Got stuck the other day. It was real tight. I think it had it was a warm day. I think it had swollen. Something we're gonna have to work on. And I had taken a hammer and I was trying to beat the window open, and you can see I busted a window pane. But every time a window pane breaks, we're replacing it with thicker, better, obviously newer glass that is much more difficult to break. Several of these windows have the newer glass in them, and it should last for a long, long time. Something else I was told, I don't know a lot about it, but I've been told that this older window glass, the way it reflects the light from the sun is not necessarily ideal for plant starts. So far, I haven't had any issues. My plants are healthy. My plants are getting big. But that may be something that you want to look into about old windows, old glass, and the way it reflects light. But so far, I can't speak to that. It's worked well for me. I have a child stuck in a wheelbarrow. Hold on just a minute. Touching back on the heat issue, somebody had asked me, do I start my seeds in the greenhouse? And that is, yes, that's what I tried to do this year. It did not work out well. My tomato seeds were not germinating at all. It had been I don't know, 7 to 10 days, I had 0 germination on thousands of seeds. So yeah, for now, what I'm going to do in the future is start all of my seeds indoors. As soon as those seeds germinated, I moved all of those indoors once I realized I had a big issue. As soon as they germinated, as soon as I got one tiny little sprout, I moved them all back into the greenhouse, and they did great. They just needed that extra warmth to germinate. And then once they germinated, they were completely fine out here. They have grown, they have thrived, really. So no, for now, I will be starting my seeds indoors in the future unless I can get the heating issue situated here. And then, once they germinate, they'll all move out here. I will be careful around the plants, okay? I'm actually surprised we haven't had more plant fatalities than we've had with 2 children running around here. But yeah, that's common. A lot of people start their seeds indoors or in a different place other than their greenhouse, and then once they germinate, they come out here, and then they continue to grow into their big, beautiful seedlings. So one of the other questions I got asked quite often is, do I use grow lights in here? And no, I don't. This has plenty of sunlight to make my seedlings grow. Before, I started all my tomato seeds in, I think they were 50 cell trays. Maybe 7. No, yeah, they were 50 cell trays. And they did get leggy a little bit, but I've since potted them up, and I'll show you this guy here. They're looking good. They're getting real thick. This is actually one of the smaller ones. So no, I don't use grow lights in here. But no grow lights in here. There's plenty of sunlight, just letting nature do its thing. So no grow lights in the greenhouse. So probably one of the, I feel like everybody wants to ask, but people are afraid to ask, is how much did it cost me to build this? And I really wish I could tell you I did a better job of keeping track, but the truth is I really didn't. It took us right at a year. Let that airplane pass. We live real close to an Air Force base. Every day this time they fly over. So yeah, it took us a year to build, and I really just didn't do a great job of keeping track. I'll tell you, when we were doing our taxes this last year, we were guesstimating, based off of our receipts and things, roughly $5,000. I think we spent more than that. Actually, I know we spent more than that. There's no way we only spent $5,000. Over $5,000. Maybe close to $6,000 or $7,000. I'm just being honest with you. However, we did it over the course of a year. Plus, I collected the windows 2 years prior. So it's not like, we paid $6,000 or $7,000 just right up front to have this built. This was over the course of, a year or more. So yeah, it was expensive. However, when you compare it to some of the Yoder builts well, I don't know that you can get a Yoder built that is this size. But I would say that it's somewhat comparable. Maybe we may spend a little more. So yeah, the cost, the real cost you're looking at, the windows, I told you I got them for a heck of a deal. The paint was very expensive. Paint is just expensive right now. Lumber was very expensive, and right now I got it when the lumber wasn't as expensive as it is now. So lumber is going to be huge. If you have extra lumber, that's a huge cost right there. The polycarbonate roof was very expensive. And then that paver set sand, those are our major costs. So if you can get any of those for cheaper or free, you never know. That'll save you a lot of the cost right there. Hold on, he's stuck again. Another thing to keep in mind is the fact that this greenhouse is not movable. It's here to stay. Tyler and I didn't know, or I guess we don't know. Is this our forever home? We don't know. We built this home 7 years ago. We don't have any plans of moving right now, or anytime soon for that matter. But once we built this greenhouse, I was like, we're staying here forever because I can't move this. There are other greenhouses, the Yoder builts, Mindful Farmer, Arkansas, who builds those awesome hoop houses that work wonderfully as greenhouses. Those are movable, so those can go with you. This can't. So if we ever moved, I would probably be devastated. I can promise you, I would look up ways to try and move it, even though it's not movable. So this one can't go anywhere. And in review, after all is said and done, and I am starting to complete my careful. He keeps getting back in the wheelbarrow the same way. Yeah, and he just said he's stuck. I don't understand. How many times do you have to get in it and get stuck to realize you probably shouldn't get in it that way? Yeah, after all is said and done, knowing what I know now, we're finishing up my first ever seed starting season in here. Would I do it again, or would I buy something else? And for me personally, I would do this again 100 times over, okay? Because my dad built it, which is very special to me. It's beautiful, which is very important to me. If something pretty is not important to you, then you probably don't want this, and that's okay. It's functional. It's working. It may not be as functional as some of these other greenhouses. I think it probably is. I mean, so far I've got awesome seedlings that are going to produce fruit. They look healthy. They're doing great. But is it as functional as some of the others? Maybe not. I don't know. Did I spend a little more money on this? Probably so, but not much, really. So yeah, I would do this again 100 times over. I'm ready to get the plastic off the rafters. Okay, y'all, I think I hit all of the questions that I've been asked, and then the things that, I've been wanting to say about it. So yeah, I'm glad that I got to do this video. I hope it was helpful to you. Be prepared for my hoop house build. It is coming up. I know I've had a couple people ask me about that. When are you gonna post a video about your hoop house? We had to put it on hold because Tyler had gone out of town for a couple of weeks for work. He's coming back in town in 2 days. Praise the Lord. Hallelujah. And then the hoop house construction, the tunnel construction starts again, and it'll be done, and I'll have the whole thing filmed, and we'll go over that as well. So I'll see y'all next time.
On that side.
How come you keep going through that way if you keep getting stuck that way?
But I can get out by myself.
You can get out by yourself? Then why did I keep coming out here and getting you out?
You take them out for fun.
Huh?
It didn't George. Oh, it's sunny, George.
Say, see you next time. Look here. Say, see you next time.